Within 6 months, I became the architect of my own resurrection. But let me start from the beginning. From the day I learned that sometimes the people who promise to love you forever are the ones who can't wait to bury you. My name is Marcus Chen, and 3 years ago, I was a different person. I lived in a modest but comfortable house in North Vancouver, worked as an electrician, and was married to a woman I thought I'd grow old with. Her name was Jennifer, and for 8 years, I believed we were building something real. I should have seen the signs. The late nights, she claimed, were overtime at the clinic. The way she started dressing differently, more carefully, like someone who had an audience. The distance that crept into her eyes when she looked at me, as if I was already a ghost haunting a life she'd moved on from. But I was busy. My mother had been diagnosed with early-onset Alzheimer's the year before, and I'd taken on extra shifts to help pay for her care facility. The bills were crushing us, but I never complained. Family comes first. That's what my parents taught me. The day Jennifer asked for a divorce, I was replacing the kitchen light fixture. It was a Saturday morning in February, gray and cold the way Vancouver winters are, all rain and fog that seeps into your bones. "I need to talk to you," she said. I climbed down from the ladder, still holding the wire strippers. "Sure, what's up?" "I want a divorce." 4 words. That's all it took to detonate my life. I stood there, my hands still greasy with electrical tape, trying to process what she'd just said. "What? Why? Is this about the money? I know things have been tight, but it's not about the money, Marcus. It's about us. We've grown apart." "Grown apart?" I repeated stupidly. "Jen, we've been together for 8 years, married for 5. You don't just throw that away because we're going through a rough patch." She looked at me with something that might have been pity, and that's when I knew there was someone else. "Who is he?" I asked quietly. She didn't even have the decency to look guilty. "His name is Trevor. He's a pharmaceutical rep. We met 6 months ago at the clinic." 6 months. She'd been cheating on me for 6 months, and I'd been too exhausted and preoccupied to notice. "I'm sorry," she said, and I could tell she meant it. Sorry that she had to have this conversation. Sorry that I was making it difficult, but not sorry for what she'd done. The divorce was brutal. Jennifer hired Lawrence Mitchell, one of those lawyers who treats every case like a war that must be won at any cost. I scraped together enough for a legal aid attorney named Susan Park, who did her best, but she was handling 40 cases simultaneously and couldn't match Mitchell's ruthlessness. Here's what I learned about the Canadian justice system. It doesn't matter who broke the marriage. It only matters who has the better lawyer. Jennifer claimed she'd sacrificed her career to support mine, which was laughable. She'd been a medical receptionist when we met and was still a medical receptionist. I'd been the one working 60-hour weeks, coming home with aching muscles and chemical burns, all to keep us afloat. But Mitchell spun a story about emotional neglect, about a husband too busy to nurture his marriage, about a woman forced to seek comfort elsewhere. He made me sound like a monster, and by the time he was done, even I almost believed it. The house was the real knife in the gut. We'd bought it together. But here's the twist. My grandmother had died 2 years into our marriage and left me $75,000. I'd put every penny toward the down payment. $75,000 of inheritance money that, according to Canadian family law, should have been exempt from division. Should have been. But Mitchell argued that since the money had been commingled into a joint asset, it lost its protected status. Judge Henderson agreed. Jennifer got the house. She also got 70% of our savings because, according to Mitchell, she'd need it to re-establish her independence. I got 30%, which, after legal fees, came to about $1,200. And my grandmother's gold watch, the one my grandfather wore when he emigrated from Hong Kong in 1967. Jennifer's lawyer had dismissed it as sentimental costume jewelry and hadn't bothered to appraise it. Small mercies. The day I moved out, Jennifer and Trevor were already there, measuring the living room for new furniture. Trevor was exactly what you'd imagine. Tall, athletic, with that easy confidence that comes from never having struggled for anything. He wore expensive jeans and a polo shirt that probably cost more than my weekly grocery budget. "No hard feelings, right, Marcus?" he said, extending his hand. I looked at his hand like it was a dead fish. "You're sleeping with my wife in my house." "Yeah, I've got some hard feelings." Jennifer stepped between us. "This is our house now, Marcus. You need to leave. The paperwork doesn't finalize for another week." Technically, Trevor said with a smirk. But why drag it out? It's over. Time to move on. I wanted to hit him. God, I wanted to hit him so badly my hands shook. But I'm not that person. I've never been that person. So I picked up the last box. It contained 3 shirts, 2 pairs of jeans, some underwear, and my grandmother's watch, and I walked out of the house I'd poured my heart and money into. I walked out into a gray Vancouver afternoon with $1,200 to my name and nowhere to go. I moved into a basement suite in East Vancouver, the kind of place where the ceiling pipes drip condensation and the windows are too small to meet fire code. $600 a month, utilities included, shared bathroom with 2 other tenants. It was all I could afford. Work dried up too. Word travels fast in the trades, and somehow the story had gotten twisted. I was the one who'd cheated, who'd abandoned my sick mother to chase a younger woman, who'd been fired from my last 3 jobs for drinking on site. None of it was true, but truth doesn't matter when it's competing with a good story. I called my old boss, Ray Kowalski, the guy who'd trained me, who'd been at my wedding. Ray, you know none of that stuff is true, right? There was a long pause. Look, Marcus, I believe you. But I've got clients asking questions. They don't want drama on their job sites. I'm sorry, but I can't use you right now. That conversation repeated itself 6 times with 6 different contractors. By March, I was down to my last $300. I'd spent the rest on rent, on instant ramen, on the bus fare to visit my mother at the care home even though she no longer recognized me. I was sitting in my basement suite on a Thursday afternoon, staring at an empty fridge and an eviction notice, when I saw the ad on Craigslist. Plasma donors needed. Earn up to $50 per donation. I'd never donated plasma before. The idea of it seemed desperate, clinical, like something you did when you'd run out of options, which, I realized, I had. The clinic was in a strip mall in Surrey, sandwiched between a vape shop and a payday loan place. The waiting room smelled like antiseptic and desperation. Everyone there had the same look, sunken eyes, cheap clothes, the posture of people who'd learned not to expect much from life. I filled out the paperwork. Name, age, medical history. Have you ever used intravenous drugs? Have you ever engaged in sex work? Have you traveled outside of Canada in the last 6 months? No, no, and no. The intake nurse was a woman in her mid-30s named Diane. She had kind eyes and a tired smile. First time donating? Yeah. The process takes about 90 minutes. We'll draw your blood, separate the plasma, and return the red blood cells to your body. You might feel lightheaded afterward, so make sure you eat something before you leave. Do you really pay $50? I asked. It felt shameful to ask, but I needed to know. For first-time donors, yes. After that, it's $40 per donation, twice a week maximum. $40, $80 a week, $320 a month. It wouldn't cover rent, but it would keep me fed. Okay, I said, let's do it. Diane led me to a reclined chair in a room full of other reclined chairs, all occupied by people hooked up to machines. She found a vein in my left arm, inserted a needle that was bigger than I'd expected, and started the machine. You're doing great, she said. Just relax. Read a book. Watch something on your phone. Some people even sleep through it. I didn't have a book or any data on my phone. So I just sat there, watching my blood flow out of my body through a clear tube, feeling like a deflated version of myself in every possible way. Diane came back 15 minutes later to check on me. She looked at the machine, then at the collection bag, then at the machine again. Her expression changed. Is something wrong? I asked. No, everything's fine. Stay right there. She walked quickly toward the back office, her shoes squeaking on the linoleum. I watched her go, confused. Through the window, I could see her talking urgently to someone in a white coat. They both looked at me, then at a computer screen, then at each other. The person in the white coat, a man in his 50s with silver hair and glasses, came out of the office and walked straight toward me. His name tag said Dr. Raymond Chen. Chen. Same surname as me, though probably no relation. There are about 1 million Chens in the world. Mr. Chen, he said, pulling up a stool. I'm Dr. Chen. No relation, I assume? Not unless we're very distant cousins. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. He was nervous about something. I need to ask you some questions about your medical history. Have you ever been diagnosed with any blood disorders? No, I'm healthy. Or I was, before I started living on instant ramen. Any family history of genetic conditions? Hemophilia? Sickle cell? Anything like that? Not that I know of. My mom has Alzheimer's, but that's it. Dr. Chen nodded slowly, processing. Mr. Chen, do you know your blood type? Oh, positive. I used to donate blood in high school. Right. He glanced at Diane, who was hovering nearby. Here's the situation. Our equipment flagged some unusual markers in your blood during the initial screening. It's nothing dangerous to you, but we'd like to run some additional tests if you're willing. It won't affect your payment today, and we'd actually compensate you additionally for the extra blood samples. I must have looked suspicious because he added quickly, "This is entirely voluntary. You're under no obligation. But what we're seeing is extremely rare, and it could be valuable for medical research." Valuable how? That's what we're trying to determine. I thought about my empty fridge, my mounting debt, the eviction notice sitting on my kitchenette counter. How much additional compensation are we talking about? Another $100 today. $150 total. That was almost half my rent. Fine, I said. Take whatever samples you need. Dr. Chen's relief was visible. Thank you. This will just take a few more minutes. He drew 4 additional vials of blood, each one carefully labeled and sealed. Diane brought me orange juice and cookies, the good kind, not the cheap store brand. They were being very nice, which made me nervous. Can you tell me what you found? I asked. Dr. Chen hesitated. I don't want to say anything definitive until we run more comprehensive tests, but your blood contains antibodies we've only seen a handful of times. If it's what we think it is, you might be able to help a lot of people. Help how? Let me run the tests first. Can you come back tomorrow? Same time? I almost laughed. I don't have anywhere else to be. He nodded. Good. Tomorrow then. And Mr. Chen? Don't worry. Whatever this is, it's good news. For you, and potentially for others. I left the clinic with $150 in cash and a growing sense of unreality. In the parking lot, I sat in my 15-year-old Honda Civic and counted the bills 3 times, as if they might disappear if I looked away. Whatever this is, it's good news. I wanted to believe him. But in my experience, good news was usually just bad news that hadn't revealed itself yet. I used $20 to buy groceries, pasta, canned sauce, a loaf of bread, peanut butter, apples. Real food, not just ramen. It felt like luxury. That night, lying on my mattress in the basement suite, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about the way Dr. Chen had looked at those blood samples, like he was holding something precious and fragile. What if they'd found something wrong with me? Some disease I didn't know about? Maybe that's why they wanted me to come back. Maybe the additional compensation was hush money to keep me from panicking. But he'd said it was good news. Help a lot of people. I was still awake at 3 in the morning when my phone buzzed. Unknown number. Against my better judgment, I answered. Hello? Mr. Chen? This is Dr. Raymond Chen. I apologize for calling so late. I hope I didn't wake you. I wasn't sleeping. Good. I'm sorry, but I couldn't wait until tomorrow. We ran the preliminary tests on your blood, and I need to explain what we found. Can you talk right now? My heart started pounding. Yeah, talk. Have you ever heard of Kastner-Weber syndrome? No. It's extremely rare. Fewer than 800 documented cases worldwide. It's a genetic blood disorder that affects antibody production. Most people with KWS die in childhood from infections their bodies can't fight off. There's no cure. My mouth went dry. Are you saying I have this? No. You're a carrier, but you don't have the syndrome itself. What makes you extraordinary is that your blood produces antibodies that can neutralize the immunodeficiency in KWS patients. We don't fully understand the mechanism yet, but theoretically, regular plasma transfusions from someone like you could extend the life expectancy of KWS patients by decades, maybe even indefinitely. I tried to process what he was telling me. So my blood can save people with this disease? Not just save, potentially cure. Mr. Chen, there are pharmaceutical companies that have spent billions trying to synthesize these antibodies. They've all failed. But your body produces them naturally. There was a long silence. I could hear the pipes dripping in the ceiling, the bass from the upstairs neighbor's TV, the distant sound of traffic on Hastings Street. Why are you telling me this at 3 in the morning? I asked. Because I made a call to a colleague at Biosynth Pharmaceuticals in Toronto. They've been searching for someone like you for 12 years. They want to speak with you as soon as possible. About what? About a partnership. About compensating you fairly for regular plasma donations. About changing the lives of hundreds of children and adults who are living on borrowed time. My head was spinning. How much compensation are we talking about? That's between you and them. But Marcus, this is real. This is important. And I think you should take the meeting. I sat up in bed, my hands shaking. Okay. Yeah, okay. They're flying someone to Vancouver tomorrow. Can you meet at my clinic at noon? I'll be there. After he hung up, I sat in the dark for a long time, trying to convince myself this wasn't some elaborate scam, that I wasn't being set up, that the universe wasn't playing another cruel joke. But what if it was real? What if my blood, the same blood that had flowed through my grandmother, through generations of my family, held something valuable? Something that could change everything? I didn't sleep that night. I couldn't. The next day, I arrived at the clinic 30 minutes early. Dr. Chen was waiting for me with a woman in her late 40s, wearing a tailored suit that probably cost more than I'd earned all year. Marcus Chen, she said, extending her hand. I'm Dr. Patricia Nguyen, Chief Medical Officer at Biosynth Pharmaceuticals. Thank you for agreeing to meet with me. We sat in Dr. Chen's office, a cramped room that smelled like coffee and old paper. Dr. Nguyen placed a leather folder on the desk between us. I'm going to be very direct with you, Mr. Chen, because I respect your time and intelligence. Your blood is extraordinary. We've been searching for someone with your specific genetic profile for over a decade. We've found 3 others globally, but one has passed away. One refuses to participate in medical research, and one lives in a country where extraction and export of biological materials is legally complicated. Which makes me valuable, I said. Extremely. We'd like to enter into a partnership with you. Regular plasma donations, carefully monitored to ensure your health and safety. In exchange, we'll compensate you significantly. How significantly? She opened the folder and turned it toward me. The number on the first page made my vision blur. $75,000 per donation. Initially, we'd need donations twice a week for the first 3 months, while we develop and test the treatment protocol. After that, once weekly for the following year. We estimate we'll need approximately 2 years of donations to produce enough plasma-derived antibodies to treat our current patient registry and establish a sustainable treatment pipeline. I couldn't speak. I just stared at the number. $75,000. Twice a week. I did the math in my head. That's over $750,000 in 3 months. Almost $4 million over 2 years. Yes, and that's just the base compensation. We're also prepared to offer you a $5 million signing bonus, comprehensive health insurance, and a percentage of future revenue from any treatments developed using your plasma. We estimate your total compensation could exceed $20 million over the next 5 years. $20 million. I thought about the basement suite, the $1,200 in my bank account, the eviction notice, Jennifer and Trevor measuring my living room for new furniture. Why so much? I asked. My voice sounded strange, distant. Because you're saving lives, Mr. Chen. There are currently 763 known KWS patients worldwide, mostly children. Without treatment, their life expectancy is 15 years. With your plasma, they could live normal lifespans. That's priceless. But more than that, once we've refined the treatment, we can begin synthesizing the antibodies, creating a sustainable cure that could eliminate KWS entirely within a generation. And you'll make billions, I said. Dr. Nguyen didn't flinch. Yes, this is a business, and we'll profit from it. But so will you, and more importantly, so will hundreds of families who won't have to watch their children die. Everyone wins, Mr. Chen. I looked at Dr. Raymond Chen, who'd been sitting quietly this whole time. Is this legitimate? I've reviewed their medical protocols, he said. I've consulted with colleagues at UBC and across Canada. This is the real deal, Marcus. You could change the world. I thought about my mother, sitting in her care facility, not knowing who I was, about the medical bills that kept piling up, even though she didn't recognize my face, about Jennifer, who'd taken everything and left me with nothing but a gold watch and $1,200. I need to think about it, I said. Dr. Nguyen nodded. Of course. But Mr. Chen, I need an answer within 48 hours. We have patients in critical condition. Every day we delay is a day we can't help them. She slid a business card across the desk. Call me anytime, day or night. We're prepared to begin immediately once you agree. I took the card. It was heavy, expensive cardstock with embossed lettering. The kind of card that said, "We have money and we're serious." I left the clinic in a daze. In the parking lot, I sat in my car and just breathed. In, out, in, out. My phone rang. Jennifer. I almost didn't answer. But something made me pick up. "What do you want?" I said. "Marcus." Her voice was shaking. "I need your help." I laughed, a harsh sound that hurt my throat. "You need my help? That's rich. Please. It's about Trevor's daughter. She's sick. Really sick." "I'm sorry to hear that," I said, meaning it despite everything. "But I don't see how that's my problem. She has some rare blood disease. Kastner something syndrome. The doctors say there's no cure. She's only 11, Marcus. She's dying." The world stopped spinning. Through the windshield, I could see Dr. Nguyen walking to her rental car. She was on her phone, probably calling Toronto to report on the meeting. 763 patients worldwide. "Marcus, are you there?" "Yeah," I said quietly. "I'm here. Trevor's insurance won't cover the experimental treatments. We'd need $300,000. I know I have no right to ask, but you're the only person I could think of. You were always so kind, so willing to help. Please." I could picture her in the house that used to be mine, standing in the kitchen I'd rewired, calling the man she'd destroyed because she thought he was the same soft-hearted fool she'd married. "How long have you known?" I asked. "Known what?" "About his daughter. About the disease." There was a pause. 6 months, since we started seeing each other. That's actually how we met. I was helping coordinate referrals for experimental treatments. 6 months. The same 6 months she'd been cheating on me. "So, you knew Trevor had a sick daughter and massive medical bills," I said slowly. "And you decided to leave your electrician husband for a pharmaceutical rep with better insurance and earning potential. That's not fair. Did you love him, Jennifer? Or did you just love the idea of not being married to someone who smelled like drywall and couldn't afford to save you from a life of mediocrity?" "Marcus, I've got to go," I said, and hung up. I sat there for another 10 minutes, watching the clouds roll across the North Shore Mountains. Then I called Dr. Nguyen. She answered on the first ring. "Mr. Chen." "I'm in," I said. "When do we start?" "Tonight, if you're willing. I have a mobile unit standing by at Vancouver General. We can begin the initial donations immediately and have the first treatments ready for shipping within 72 hours. "Let's do it." "Excellent. I'll text you the address. And Mr. Chen, thank you. You're going to save lives." After I hung up, I called my lawyer, Susan Park. "Susan, I need you to draw up an ironclad contract. I'm entering into a medical partnership that's going to be worth millions, and I need to make sure I'm protected." There was stunned silence. Then, "Marcus, what the hell happened?" "I'll explain later." "Can you do it?" "Yes, absolutely. I'll start immediately." The next 72 hours were a blur. Medical examinations, blood draws, paperwork, more paperwork, legal consultations. Susan brought in a contract specialist who spent 8 hours negotiating with Biosynth's legal team. In the end, I got everything Dr. Nguyen had promised, plus additional protections. The $5 million signing bonus hit my account on a Wednesday morning. I stared at the number on my phone screen, waiting for it to disappear or reveal itself as a mistake. It didn't. On Thursday, I donated plasma for the second time. $75,000. On Saturday, again, another $75,000. By the end of the first week, I had $5,150,000. I paid off my mother's care facility bills 2 years' worth. I paid 3 months' rent on the basement suite in advance, even though I was already looking at apartments. Real apartments, with windows that let in actual sunlight. And I waited. I waited for Jennifer to call again. I waited for the inevitable moment when she'd find out that the broke ex-husband she'd discarded had become the one person in the world who could save Trevor's daughter. The call came on a Tuesday afternoon. I was sitting in my new apartment in Kitsilano, a 2-bedroom with a view of English Bay, drinking actual good coffee from an actual coffee maker. "Marcus." Jennifer's voice was strained. "I heard something. I don't know if it's true." "What did you hear?" Someone at Trevor's company said there's been a breakthrough in KWS treatment, a new plasma-based therapy. They're saying it could be available within weeks. She paused. They're saying it's based on donations from someone in Vancouver, someone who has the right antibodies. I didn't say anything. Marcus, is it you? I took a sip of coffee. What if it is? Then please help us. I know I hurt you. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness. But Melody doesn't deserve to die because of my mistakes. She's 11 years old. She likes to paint and she wants to be a veterinarian. She shouldn't pay for what I did. You're right, I said. She shouldn't. I could hear Jennifer's relief. Thank you. Thank you so much. How much do you need? For the treatment? Trevor and I can. I'm not doing this for money, Jennifer. I never was. Then what do you want? I want you to understand something. When you left me, when you took everything I'd built, you told me I'd die alone and broke. You laughed at me. You made me feel like I was nothing. Marcus, I'm sorry. I'm not finished. You thought you were trading up, a pharmaceutical rep with money and connections, versus an electrician who smelled like drywall. And maybe in your mind, that math made sense. But what you didn't understand is that value isn't always obvious. Sometimes the thing you throw away is the thing you needed most. I know that now, she whispered. Do you? Because I'm not sure you do. I'm going to help Melody. Not because you asked, but because I can. And because helping people is what I choose to do with this gift. But I need you to know something. You had a husband who would have given you everything, who worked himself to exhaustion to provide for you, who loved you even when loving you was hard, and you threw him away like garbage. I know, she said, and she was crying now. I know. I'm sorry. The treatment will be available through Biosynth's Compassionate Care Program, I said. Melody will get it for free because she's under 18 and her family demonstrates financial need. You don't owe me anything. You never will. This isn't about us. Thank you, Jennifer sobbed. Thank you so much. Don't thank me. Just remember this feeling the next time you're tempted to measure someone's worth by their bank account. I hung up and blocked her number. Over the next 6 months, I donated plasma twice a week. $150,000 a week. $600,000 a month. Susan helped me set up proper wealth management, investments, trusts, but the money wasn't the point. The point was the letters that started arriving at Biosynth's office, forwarded to me through Dr. Nguyen. Letters from parents whose children were alive because of my plasma. Drawings from kids who could finally go to school, play with friends, have futures. Photos of families at birthday parties, graduations, weddings that would never have happened. I set up a foundation, the Chen Legacy Trust. Its mission, to provide financial support for families affected by rare genetic diseases, to fund research into treatments, and to ensure that no child with KWS would ever go untreated due to cost. I endowed it with $5 million to start. By the end of the first year, with matching donations and fundraising, it had grown to $12 million. One day in August, Dr. Nguyen called me. Marcus, I have someone who wants to meet you. Melody Patterson, Trevor's daughter. My first instinct was to say no. But then I thought about what Dr. Nguyen had said. Everyone wins. Okay, I said. Set it up. We met at a park in North Vancouver. Melody was small for 11, thin, with Trevor's blue eyes and Jennifer's dark hair. She was holding a painting. Hi, she said shyly. I made this for you. The painting showed a man with stars coming out of his chest, surrounded by children holding hands. At the top, in careful letters, it said, "Thank you for my life." I knelt down so I was at her eye level. You're welcome, Melody. You're going to do amazing things. I know it. My mom says you and her used to be married. We were. She says she made a big mistake and she's sorry. Your mom and we have a complicated history. But you're not part of that. You're just a kid who deserves to live and be happy. That's all that matters. She hugged me. This little girl I'd never met, whose life was entangled with mine in ways neither of us had chosen. And I hugged her back. This living proof that sometimes the right choice is the hard one. Trevor showed up a few minutes later to pick her up. He'd lost weight. He looked older, worn down by months of stress and fear. Thank you, he said stiffly. I know you didn't have to do this. You're right. I didn't. For what it's worth, I'm sorry. For how everything went down. For what Jennifer and I did to you. I looked at him, this man who'd slept with my wife in my house, who'd been there the day I'd lost everything, and I felt nothing, no anger, no satisfaction, just a kind of distant pity. "Take care of your daughter," I said. "That's what matters now." He nodded and left with Melody. I sat on the park bench for a while after they'd gone, watching the sunset paint the sky orange and purple over the water. My phone buzzed. Dr. Nguyen. "Marcus, I have news. The FDA just approved our KWS treatment for commercial use. It's official. We've synthesized enough of your antibodies to begin mass production. Within a year, every KWS patient in North America will have access to treatment." That's incredible. It is. And Marcus, we just signed a distribution deal with partners in Europe and Asia. Our projections show we'll be able to offer the treatment globally within 18 months. We're talking about eliminating a disease. Actually, eliminating it. I thought about my grandmother, who'd left me $75,000 that Jennifer's lawyer had claimed wasn't really mine, who'd left me a gold watch that he'd dismissed as costume jewelry. That $75,000 had been enough for a down payment on a house I'd lost, but the watch, the worthless watch, had been my lifeline when I had nothing. I'd thought about selling it 100 times during those dark months, but I never had. And because I'd kept it, I'd been able to walk into that plasma clinic with just enough self-respect intact to keep going. "Marcus, you still there?" "Yeah," I said. "I'm here, just thinking about how strange life is. Strange good or strange bad. Strange good. Definitely strange good." 2 years after the divorce, Jennifer and Trevor separated. I heard about it through mutual acquaintances. Apparently, the stress of Melody's illness had revealed cracks in their relationship that they couldn't repair. Jennifer moved to an apartment in Burnaby. Trevor kept the house, my house, the one I'd poured my inheritance into. I thought about buying it back out of spite. I could afford it now. I could afford 10 of them. But what would be the point? It was just a house. It had never really been about the house. Instead, I bought a small place in Kerrisdale for my mother, close to her care facility, with a garden she could sit in on good days, even if she didn't know why she was there. I hired a full-time companion, someone gentle and patient who could give her the care she deserved. On her good days, the rare ones, when the fog lifted for a few minutes, I'd visit, and we'd sit in the garden together. "You're doing well," she said once, looking at me with sudden clarity. "I can tell. You're happy." "I am, Mom. I really am. Your grandmother would be proud. She always said you had a good heart." The fog rolled back in after that, and she forgot I was there. But I stayed anyway, holding her hand, grateful for those few seconds of connection. I dated someone for a while, a teacher named Sarah who thought it was hilarious that I'd become wealthy from donating plasma. "So you're literally a lifesaver," she said, on our third date. "That's the best pickup line I've ever heard. It's not a line, if it's true." Even better. It didn't work out between us. We wanted different things, different timelines, but we parted as friends, and she still texts me occasionally to share stories about her students. I learned something from that relationship. Not every ending has to be bitter. Sometimes people are just meant to be in your life for a season, not forever, and that's okay. 3 years after Jennifer asked for a divorce, I attended a benefit dinner for the Chen Legacy Trust. It had grown into something bigger than I'd imagined, funding research into dozens of rare diseases, supporting hundreds of families. Dr. Nguyen was there, along with Dr. Raymond Chen from the clinic where this had all started. There were parents and patients, researchers and donors, all gathered because of the foundation. During dinner, a woman approached my table. She was in her 30s, confident, with kind eyes. "Marcus Chen?" she asked. "That's me. I'm Amanda Rivas. My son Lucas has KWS. He's 8 now. He's been on your treatment for 2 years. Before that, he couldn't go to school without a medical escort. Now he plays soccer. He's in Cub Scouts. He's just a regular kid." Her eyes filled with tears. "I don't know how to thank you. You gave me my son back." I stood up and hugged her. This stranger whose life had intersected with mine in the most unlikely way. "You don't have to thank me," I said. "Just watch him grow up. That's enough." That night, driving home through the streets of Vancouver, I thought about the trajectory of my life. How I'd gone from that basement suite with $1,200 and an eviction notice to this. Not just the money, though. The money was nice, but the purpose, the meaning. Jennifer had taken everything, and in doing so, had given me something she never intended: the freedom to discover what I was really worth. Because here's what I learned: your value isn't determined by your bank account, your job title, or your relationship status. It's determined by what you do when you have nothing left, by whether you choose bitterness or generosity, revenge or justice, despair or hope. Jennifer chose herself. Trevor chose convenience. And I chose to help people, even the ones who'd hurt me. Not because I'm a saint, I'm not, but because holding on to anger is exhausting, and revenge is a poison that hurts you more than anyone else. The real victory wasn't the money or the foundation, or even the lives saved, though those mattered. The real victory was learning that I could lose everything and still be okay. That I could be betrayed and abandoned and still choose kindness. That I could be valued at 0 and still build something meaningful. I'm 34 now. I still donate plasma once a month. Even though Biosynth no longer needs it, they've synthesized enough antibodies to sustain the treatment indefinitely. But I do it anyway, as a reminder, a ritual. The Chen Legacy Trust now operates in 14 countries. We've helped thousands of families. We've funded research that's led to breakthroughs in 3 other rare diseases. We're working on a 4th. Last month, I got a letter from a woman in Ontario. Her daughter has KWS and is starting treatment next week. She wrote, "You don't know me, but you saved my daughter's life. Thank you for being the kind of person who chooses to help strangers. The world needs more people like you." I keep that letter in my wallet, next to a photo of my mother in her garden. Sometimes, I still think about Jennifer. Not with anger or longing, but with a kind of curious detachment, like remembering a character from a book I read years ago. I wonder if she ever thinks about that day she laughed at me, told me I'd die alone and broke, measured my worth by my bank account. I hope she does. Not because I want her to suffer, but because I want her to learn. Because the lesson isn't about me or her, or even about the money. The lesson is this: we're all architects of our own futures, and every choice we make is a brick in the foundation. You can build something beautiful or something hollow. You can create or destroy. You can be the person who takes everything or the person who gives everything. I chose to give. And in giving, I found something Jennifer never did in all her taking. I found purpose. I found peace. I found proof that I was worth more than she could ever calculate. Within 6 months, I became the architect of my own resurrection. But it took 3 years to understand what that really meant. It meant learning that rock bottom isn't the end. It's the foundation. And what you build on that foundation, that's entirely up to you. I built a life of meaning. I built a legacy of help. I built proof that the people who abandon you don't get to define you. That's the real victory. Not revenge, not wealth, not even justice. Just becoming someone you're proud to be, regardless of who's watching. And if there's anything I'd want people to take from my story, it's this: your worth is not determined by the people who leave you. It's determined by how you respond when they do. You can become bitter, or you can become better. I chose better. And that choice, more than any amount of money or recognition, is what saved my life.